It's the TX Water Polo Podcast. It's the 51st, actually. Last week was the 50th. I'm James. He's Joe. I'm in Austin. And you are where?
I'm in North Texas.
Still. All right. So we can't keep it. Oh, but you're going back down tomorrow, right?
I was actually in San Antonio this past weekend, and
Right.
I'm going back down to San Antonio tomorrow. Yeah.
More moving. What a delight. Yeah. How much fun is that?
Oh, it's almost over.
Can you believe 50, though? Like, seriously, that caught up quite quickly.
Yeah, it was quick. I mean,
Yeah.
there's 1,000 things to talk about, and I know we only cover a small little portion of kind of all the various things to talk about, but it's been a lot of fun. So
You're more optimistic than me about the content, about how much there is, especially when things are so slow right now. I mean, there's still lots to talk about. We're going to do that, talk about underselling our own show, but that's the case. It's important to me that we reach 52, because then if you notice, those of you who download this on Apple in particular, like it says show 50 season 1, and I'll finally get to change it to season 2. Isn't it just the small things in life that make you happy?
it is the little things. So
Exceedingly small things. Yeah. We wanted to talk about a few things, including Best of Texas today, and a little bit about the diversity conversations that took place last week, and a little bit of COVID, and then we have an interview coming later. But first, I have inside sources at the ODP Southwest Zone staff, and by inside sources I mean me, because I'm the head coach. So we made some changes with the coaching staff. So I don't even know if you know this, Joe. So I'm going to announce it to you. There are only a couple of new additions to the staff, which I'm actually really pleased by, which one of whom is Caitlin Kelly, who's going to be assisting our friend Spencer Dornan with the boys youth team. And we can describe exactly what that means again, because it might be a little confusing why we need assistance. And then I was super happy that my colleague Chris Cullen hired Jonathan Lendero to help him with development girls. So really cool stuff. I'm really pleased with these new additions. And then
and Jonathan's going to be the first coach from the Rio Grande Valley to be on that staff, which is going to be incredible. And I think it's going to be great for Jonathan. It's going to be great for PSJA. It's going to be great for the whole Rio Grande Valley.
I don't think he would mind if I said that he told me he was excited. So I'm excited for him too. Really good.
And Caitlin Kelly is a tremendous coach.
Tremendous.
So, and I mean, this is it's going to be an invaluable piece to that, like the boys' side of things. So
yeah.
And I think that although she coaches girls primarily at her work, I don't think it matters at times as far as boys, girls, and such. I think she's going to bring a different dynamic kind of to the pool deck, and it's only going to help that coaching staff. So.
Completely. She and I had a little bit of a talk about, I think there are differences between the boys and girls more than you do. I think that's fair to say. And so we had some conversations about how she's dealt with boys in the past versus girls. And it's an endlessly fascinating conversation. I'm serious. Like, I love that stuff about how to deal with different personality types, different everything. So she's going to be a super important addition to that. The philosophy I have, at least, and you were my predecessor, so you may have had a different philosophy, but for youth, I hired Spencer Dornan in the first place because I wanted these Texas kids to have somebody who could basically show them that they can go play somewhere in college. And the reason I say that is when I first started coming to Texas in the early decade, I would talk to these players who played for, A&M or for UT or teams like that, and they were pretty darn good. And I'd say, did you ever think about playing, somewhere else in California? And they're like, oh, no, I want to stay close to home, and I don't think I could make it, those kinds of things. And I was like, oh, that's too bad. So having somebody like Spencer who has experience not only collegiately, he's an All-American, and then on the national team, and then Caitlin as well. Like, she was an excellent player in college. She knows what it looks like. That to me is important.
Oh, no, I think that's tremendously important. And, there's kids kids have to want to go play somewhere. That's the first thing. It's a coach trying to convince them to go play. That sometimes doesn't work, because then they'll go out for a year and then they'll come back eventually.
Right.
It's like the kid has to want to do it, not the parents and not the coach. So there's been a ton of kids that have played out in NCAA water polo kind of from Texas over the years, but I think it's great to have those people like kind of as those youth coaches, and the same thing on the girls' side. Sabrina Carla played 4 years at Whittier and is from Texas.
Yep, exactly.
So, and was a good player here in Texas, a great player out there at Whittier. So
I just wanted to make sure that especially the boys, because that's who I was talking to, not because I didn't want this to apply to the girls as well, but the boys who are basically sort of discouraged from going elsewhere because they think they couldn't do it, that's who I really wanted to get to. Because yes, of course, you have to want to go. If you don't want to go anywhere, then there's nothing to be said. That's fine. You can choose what you want to do. But so anyway, very pleased with those. That's the good news from the ODP side. The bad news is that the cancellations continue. USA Water Polo announced earlier this week that the girls All-Stars, the girls age group zone national championships are canceled altogether. And then all NTSC national team selection camps are finished for the remainder of the 2019-2020 season. I think it's fair to say that none of that is terribly surprising, but it's still a huge disappointment.
Yeah, I think that's just, waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's what we've been waiting for. And so what are the plans kind of for those girls now?
Right. So nationally, what the USA Water Polo is looking for, the ODP organization, is to put together something, and this is dependent on the region. Like the region is allowed to do, or the zone rather, is allowed to do whatever they want, to put together a training camp for a weekend or some kind of competition over the weekend, so that all of the girls can show up in their uniforms and everything, and basically just have a bit of an ending to the season. So that remains to be seen what actually happens. I have some ideas, and Chris Cullen and I have been talking about them, but it's going to be the idea is to do this prior to school beginning, and that might be tough. So you and I need to talk about that off the air. But yeah, that's what we're trying to do, is to give them something to finish the season.
Yeah, and I mean, and that'd be great for those kids to have that, kind of have that thing to kind of finish the season. Oh, what about the boys for the national team selection camp?
Yeah, no idea about that. I mean, it's canceled, but I don't have any other information on that. There was a huge email that was sent out to all the athletes, so I just have the text of that. But yeah, the boys, I can even read the statement. It says, we had remained hopeful, but it has become apparent that it's not feasible to host for the boys NTSC. So anyway, you can find that on the website, or on the ODP Southwest Zone website, which is odpswz.wordpress.com. So go check that out. What else?
Best of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Part 2.
We're finally at the end of it. Yeah, we, as I said, I dropped the ball last week. I had the polling closed, but it's now, we got a huge response, Joe. Like, it was pretty good. Like, yeah. So
who are the winners?
The results are convincing. And now I'm going to have to ask you to guess. You haven't looked at them, right?
No, I have not.
Okay, so girls program championship. That is Baytown Sterling High School versus Clark High School. What's your guess?
I would guess Baytown Sterling.
By how much?
A significant margin.
Come on, give me a number.
80-20.
70% to 30%. So yes, really? Or 71 to 29, really. Yeah. Okay. All right. Again, I think you would say that's not a surprise.
And I'm not surprised. I think they are by far the best program that has been around. So,
well, Joe finally shares his own opinion. Very good. All
on
right.
The girls' side, I don't think I've been shy about saying that they were the best program. So
no. On the boys' side, Clear Lake High School versus St. Mark's School of Texas. What's the result? What do you think?
Probably Clear Lake High School.
You think Clear Lake over St. Mark's?
Yes.
Do you want to know the results?
Sure.
St. Mark's, 90% to 10.
Serious?
Seriously.
Awesome. Good for St. Mark's. That's awesome.
St. Mark's, 90% to 10. Yeah.
So it's been St. Mark's on the boys' side and Baytown Sterling on the girls' side?
Yes. Yeah, we're
that
done.
Is great. Congratulations to St. Mark's. Obviously, they've had a lot of success these last few years. And plus they had a couple championships back in the 70s. So obviously, kind of their program has showed over the years that they have been successful in Bon Voyage to Mihail Preja, who's going back to Romania this month.
Yes. You know what else they had was a very robust Twitter campaign. So they were very effective at getting the vote out, as they say. So and the results speak for themselves. So yes, congratulations to both of those teams. Oh boy, what are we going to do next, Joe? Like we've been doing polling for like 10 weeks or something like that. It's like I'm out of ideas.
It's okay. We have lots to talk about.
All right, we'll come back. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about diversity, COVID, and an interview with Mike Schofield.
All of TX Water Polo is brought to you advertising free, and we'd like to keep it that way. So we're asking for your help. Show your support by going to txwaterpolo.com/give so we can keep covering the sport we love in the Lone Star State.
Hi, this is Brenda Villa, 4-time Olympic medalist, and whenever I want to hear about Texas water polo, I tune into the TX Water Polo podcast.
Last week we covered a lot of territory actually, and much of it was focused on diversity. So I was going to say hosted, but you really opened up a town hall to discuss the issue. And how did that go?
I thought it went great. I've had a ton of positive feedback. Yes, I was on there, but it was only because they used my account to do the meeting. I presented. I just introduced it at the beginning. I talked a little bit at the end, but I listened. And this is an important time for kind of Caucasians kind of to listen and learn. And I've done a lot of listening over the last week or so. Earlier today, I was on another diversity call, and it's very kind of interesting to hear the different aspects of it. Like the whole financial piece, right? So, we have scholarships to support the minorities. Well, why do you have scholarships for the people of color? Well, no, it's like you just need to have scholarships for anybody that needs it, not just the people of color.
Yeah.
So it's like it's different little things like that like the microaggressions that you didn't know that you did, and like it's not that I'm second guessing myself. I'm just learning so I can do a better job next time.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for all of us to do. So.
Well,
regardless of color. So.
Yeah, I appreciated really hearing people's stories. Yeah. Because it's a rough subject, my instincts are against the kinds of things that basically state this is what you must do, rub me the wrong way. But it doesn't mean that getting on that conference and listening to the experiences that people had wasn't super educational. It really was. And because these are people that I've known, but they don't exactly show up on the pool deck and start talking about, hey, this happened to me. It doesn't. That just doesn't go on. So I was fascinated by that. Really interested to hear that. So yeah, I thought that went pretty well too.
And it's important to have these discussions, and that was the first of hopefully many discussions. And right. We're going to try to do another town hall kind of roundtable in July. We're still working on the date. That is going to be a diversity talk part 2, right? And kind of come at it from a different angle. A lot of people on the call last week were asking, so how can I do? And kind of what can I do? Again, we're just having the discussions now. A lot of people are they don't even know if they can get in the water right now.
Right.
So any ideas are good ideas right now. So please let me know or email pod@txwaterpolo.com. We are more than happy to share the different ideas. If you want to get involved, please let us know. And we just want to create a group of people and then kind of together, just kind of put together a plan and then act on that plan. So
one thing I was thinking of is that this, since our sport and probably swimming at some point, I work on a swim team, so are out in front of many, if not most, if not all other sports with regard to going back to practice. And so this is a really good opportunity, even though it's a bizarre time and practices are strange and so on, to go do the outreach that you and I talked about before. Now, as you well know, I'm not very good at that. Like I depend on you and other people to sort of guide me with that. But this is the time to do that, or it is a good time. It's not the time. It's a good time.
And it's a good time to, and it takes time. And that's the key thing. It takes time. It takes lots of phone calls. You have to find out the person who is going to be able to give you structure for a program, and then you have to talk to the people that might be able to help you with some funds, either paying for the pool time or giving you kind of the free pool time. These and I'm talking about, the municipalities or the YMCAs or the Boys and Girls Clubs or the JCCs out there. And these are the type of things that, this falls under my job title. And this is something that I've been doing and I will continue to do. But it's also like, the local clubs.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do it and I can put people together, but I can't actually run it. Does it make sense? Because that would get overwhelming after you get one or two programs. So, it's kind of similar to what we did a couple of years ago we had the YMCA start in Austin, and then kind of partner them up with the local clubs. So after those kids kind of finish their splash ball programs, they have a place to go play.
Right.
And it takes a lot of phone calls and talking, and it's not just to get it going, but after it starts to keep it going.
Yeah.
And to keep that and to keep that pipeline going. So this is going to be a long-term project with hopefully some short-term successes along the way. So
yeah. Sort of dovetails with my conversation with Brenda Villa, because we did talk about, utilizing certain models, or at least as I sort of talked about, was themes that you can sort of airdrop into different areas. So, for example, she visited the Rio Grande Valley a couple years ago, and she was very good about saying, this is a different area, so it's not as though you can just take the model that Commerce used, which, by the way, I learned so much about the way that they actually grew that program back in the 60s and 70s, which, things that I didn't know. And so, but that model is not necessarily replicable, especially because they received so much funding from the tax base. But, down in Rio Grande Valley, they have a community, and that actually might be the most important thing is just people know one another. And
just getting people all on the same page and moving in the same direction, as opposed to against each other. Yeah. And that's in our water polo world, and if you want to get to a big old macro level, we are very passionate. That's our blessing and our curse, right? So we are very passionate about it, and a lot of times we argue and we fight. No, this is like the diversity question is probably kind of something that is so very important. It's not just for the long-term survival of our sport, but it's also to get as many people playing as possible and opportunities to these kids. And it's not just to learn water polo. It's also to learn a life-saving skill of swimming.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
And these are the type of things that, that we as a water polo kind of community can bring to kind of different people that, that may not have access as of right now. So
right. Okay, this like you said, this is the beginning of the conversation. So we'll look forward to having more of them down the road. Another just small issue, this COVID thing. Yeah. Right. So there's some dates that have changed now, or what? Fill me in on what's going on with schools and such with COVID.
Well, back in June, schools started kind of opening up and doing local camps, and each school district kind of did their own things as far as how they interpreted those rules from the TEA and the UIL. And a lot of school districts were going to start opening up to renters on July 6th, which was this week.
Yeah.
And last week the UIL kind of came back kind of with a suggestion and recommendation to the school districts that everybody kind of suspend their camps and their rental groups until July 13th. And so, I know kind of Thunder in North Texas, I think Viper Pitching's down in Houston. I know Mavericks in North Texas, they were planning on going back. and practicing on July 6th. And now the hope is to get in the water this upcoming Monday, kind of July 13th, but it's still to be determined because as everybody knows, the cases are surging out there.
Yeah.
And it's just how are our local health professionals and the people that are making these decisions going to decide on these things.
Right.
And then of course the club then has the local club and coaches and parents and athletes, then they have to decide how are they going to go back, if they're going to go back.
Yeah, it depends. That's right.
Exactly.
And I think, and there's been some sort of reverse movement as well. I think people are practicing less and they had already started. I mean, I seem to remember us talking about that last week. So yeah, it's the end is not in sight, man. Is it?
No,
I mean, yeah, it's just, I mean, again, we made these announcements today about ODP coaches, which I'm super happy about. But I'm worried. So we'll see how this all plays out.
I'm just going to preach patience, to everyone.
Yeah.
Water polo, it's going to come back. It's going to come back, kind of full throttle at some point.
Yep.
Don't know when that's going to be. It will be back.
It will be back.
And was it just please be patient with us, kind of with your local school districts, because the last thing we need are angry people out there kind of demanding to be in the water or demanding tournaments and such like that. That's not going to help our cause of growth and such. So
no, people are just simply not going to agree to do that either. Because I mean, that's the issue is like no matter the number of regulations that come down, let's say from the government, there's a lot of more, people are just going to make these choices on their own. I was like, I'm not sending my kid to, some tournament like that. So anyway, it's speculation, but all right. You also had a conversation with Mike Schofield. Guess how many wins Mike Schofield had as the head coach of the Naval Academy?
776.
630. That's at least according to Swimming World. So who knows? Maybe that's outdated. Is your number right? Like, did you know that?
No, I just guessed.
Oh, okay, cool. I was gonna say, go to Wikipedia and update it, but yeah. Schofield, you and I both have met him or know him. He had obviously a terribly successful career as the head coach at Navy.
For 35 years. 35 years.
Huge. And one of the reasons I think you wanted to talk to him was that he has a connection with Texas, which is that, a lot of Texas athletes went to the Naval Academy and had success.
Yeah. I mean, I've known Mike for years. He was a mentor for me back kind of when I was a young pup coach, right? I was a 23-year-old coach, kind of coaching at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy for 5 seasons, and he was the guy that had been around the block for 20 years. Yeah. And I was very grateful that he allowed me to ask 1,000 questions. I've kept in touch with him kind of throughout the years, and he has consistently recruited Texas athletes, and he has had a lot of success with a lot of Texas athletes. So that's what we discussed was obviously a little bit about Mike, but a lot about the Texas kids that went there and were success. So.
See, the names don't come to the tip of my tongue. Just name one or two. Jared Castillo was there. I know that.
Jared Castillo was at the tail end. I don't think Mike ever coached Jared. He recruited
right?
Jared.
That's right. Yeah,
and then there's Brendan Metcalf and Robert Sutherland. There's Stevie Ray. I'm going backwards right now. There's a kind of a Jordan Gentry and Aaron Recco. Aaron Recco was probably kind of one of the top 5 players ever in the history of the Naval Academy, and he was from San Antonio. So. Right. And then a little bit older, you have Tim Tackle, you have kind of Josh Bell and Scott Bell. So there's a ton of kids out there, and not kids anymore, but kids that went and played there and were highly successful. And Mike was a hard coach.
Yes.
But I've talked to a lot of those guys, and they are like, yes, I didn't like them at the time, but I understand them now, and they will preach kind of the Mike Schofield book of water polo. So,
John Feinstein wrote a book on the Army-Navy rivalry, the football rivalry, years ago.
Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War. And what I didn't know was that I don't know why this always sticks out to me, but these guys are working incredibly hard. So then you're on a sports team and you're working even harder. And the academy in classes, apparently, like what you would have to do if you're falling asleep is stand up. So you'd have people standing up in class taking notes just so they could stay awake. It's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, I mean, I coached at a similar place 4 or 5 seasons, and I used to tell people the hardest part of a day for a kid that's playing football at Texas A&M is their football practice.
Yeah.
The easiest part of the day for somebody that's playing football at Army or Navy or Air Force is the football practice.
Yeah, that's right. It's and a super beautiful campus, by the way, as well. So anyway, we're going to come back with that conversation, and then we'll come and wrap things up after that.
Hey, this is Mark Lawrence from Austin College, head coach of the men's and women's water polo programs and home of our Kangaroos. When I'm interested in what's going on with Texas water polo, I always listen to TX Water Polo Podcast.
Yeah, today we are joined by legendary coach Mike Schofield from the Naval Academy. He was at the Naval Academy from 1982 to 2015, and he stopped coaching in 2013. So he was the head coach there for 30 plus years. He's been involved with USA Water Polo, the CWPA, the NCAA. He's also a USA Water Polo kind of Hall of Fame member and a CWPA Hall of Fame member. He was also a mentor to me as I was a young pup coach on the East Coast. Mike, how are you doing?
Great, Joe. Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning. So how are you and your family with all the COVID stuff going on? Have you got out much since March?
Not as much as we'd like, which is probably what's been advised. We're doing fine. We have, everybody's healthy and just try not to get too much fatter and too much older. But there's enough to do around the house, and things have opened up a little bit in Maryland. So we got no complaints.
And so you still referee kind of on the East Coast and such. So when was the last time you were on the pool deck?
I was actually in Florida refereeing with Mike Naughton and Ted Bresnahan, the former Johns Hopkins coach. And Ted and Mike both live in Florida, and I've been refereeing in the winter down there the last few years. So my last game was March 12th with Coach Bresnahan.
There you go. That is an interesting combination right there.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, Ted Bresnahan used to coach at Johns Hopkins, and Mike obviously coached at the Naval Academy, and was it there just right down the street, and they were a bit of rivals there for a few years, or more than a few years. So here, just tell us a little bit of background on yourself, kind of where you played, and also specifically a little bit of the history of the Naval Academy water polo program.
Okay. I started playing in college, actually. I'd never really even touched a water polo ball till the summer after my freshman year in college. I was lifeguarding at the pool at the University of Pittsburgh. They had just gotten permission to start a varsity program in the fall of 1975. And there was a grad student from Puerto Rico by the name of Miguel Rivera. And he was also lifeguarding, and he was going to be the coach that fall. Built some goals. I helped him put them in the water after he got done making them. And he shot a few balls at me. I shot a few balls at him. And he actually played at San Jose State with Bruce Watson, who's the coach at San Jose State now. And Miguel encouraged me to come out for the team in the fall, which I did, and played for the next 4 years. And if anybody's interested, Michael Randazzo has done a bunch of probably 5 or 6 different articles for Swimming World magazine and Total Water Polo. He took a deep dive into the history of water polo in Pittsburgh earlier this summer, or earlier this spring. So I played 4 years at Pitt, and I got a degree in physical education and started coaching and teaching around Pittsburgh. So 1979 to 82, I was coaching a club swim team, coaching water polo and teaching. And I got offered a position at the Naval Academy after refereeing down there one spring, and turned it down about 4 times before Coach Lawrence, the aquatic director, finally caught me on a weak moment and talked me into taking the job.
So was the program already established, or did you establish the water polo program there?
Actually, if you want to go really far back, even before I was born, which is long enough, water polo at the Naval Academy was a big deal in the 30s. And they won there was no CWPA, there was no NCAA water polo championship. There was a national collegiate championship. And there are some